Hi, I'm Daz Smith and welcome to an amazing remote viewing project. For those of you new to remote viewing, it's the ability to transcend time and space and to retrieve information using nothing but intuition. All remote viewing is done blind, meaning that the remote viewers themselves do not know what the target is when they are using their ability. Now, this project I want to present with you today was tasked by myself to 5 remote viewing colleagues of varying experiences and skill levels through social media. All they had in advance was a random number created by me, which was 25041991. My actual target that I wanted them to remote view was a series of dead cow mutilations in Texas, USA in March and April 2023. My exact cue and my intent written down was that the remote viewer is to move to the optimum position, time and location to describe and sketch the event that led to the cow mutilation of the 6-year-old longhorn cross cow reported in the press. I wanted them to describe who or what is mutilating the animal and to try to get the reason or intent on why. For this target, there have been several news articles and news pieces in the video about the recent spate of Texas mutilations, and this caught my eye, but mostly it was the closeness in time of the events that caught my attention, as this was really fresh. Now, with the RV data, I believe that each of the remote viewers brought back some excellent data that overlaps with each other's perceptions of the cattle mutilation event. So right now, let's go to the video whereby the remote viewers go through some of the highlights of their remote viewing sessions. And this is after I have told them what the target is, but before they have seen any of the other remote viewers' data, which they now see live on video for the very first time. Welcome and thanks for doing this. Let's start with David because he was in the room first.
Right. Well, I don't want to spoiler this too badly, but let me just share my screen and his summary of my data. There we go.
Whoa!
So I did a TRV session first. Hang on, let me switch over to the TRV and we'll whip through that.
Pretty cool. Grey dude sketch.
It is. I got 2 of them. I only drew one of them because I thought they were possibly just noise and not related to the target. Zooms. Oh, it's put it on my monitor. Hang on a minute. Let me share the other session. Okay. Right. So here's the TRV session. Is this big enough?
You can make it bigger a little, but a little bit.
Yeah. Let me zoom in on this a bit. I'll skim through this really quickly.
Very
So,
good.
pyramid-shaped object. Stick a pin in that. This data, Daz described it as you've kind of described everything except the actual thing that happened. Can you just do it again? Which is why I'm going to go through this very quickly. The summary is not particularly helpful, but stick a pin in pyramid-shaped objects. Also, at the beginning, we have this sketch with this round thing with linear things coming down, which has kind of appeared twice in this big circle here associated with motion. And it's all kind of drifty and cloudy, and origin is obscured. AOL planet, it's hidden. So that's about all she wrote on that one. So let's get to the notes I took from my cowboy session. Where's Zoom gone? Here we go. Right, let's get this guy back up. So in my session, I had this as a really clear visual. I thought it might just be an entity or some noise because often phenomena like that look like this. So at the time I was like, yeah, noise or entity, ignore it. And it didn't seem to be particularly associated with the target. So there is a, like, I think it's half-hour long MP3 of my cowboy session for this. These are just sketches and notes that I took along the way. So don't worry if this doesn't scan or make sense, because it's mostly the pictures. So initially, this is my first visual. I thought it looks like a machete. If there's somebody holding the machete, they've only got 3 fingers. Make of that what you will. I wouldn't read anything into it personally. Then this shape's appeared again, the round thing with the legs. And again, and it looks like a space capsule or something. And then some location in space. It's up, above, high, really long way up, and very distant below and far is the life. So it doesn't seem like, maybe I dropped in at the wrong moment, or I didn't want to be there at the right moment, or maybe the aliens weren't there, but were sort of nearby or associated. The life thinks of this as a frightening concept, but it's kind of like that's a thing that happens to other people or happens in stories or something. I don't know if we're talking about the cow here, presumably. So, looking at the event unfolding, we've got like imprisonment or in a cage, enclosure, fast motion, dumped. Something kind of AOL of assassination, allowed, and then this empty, spent AOL of a bullet casing, finality depleted. So let me just flip to my written summary of this, because I don't want to go through all of this data. Just bear with me for a moment. There it is. Right, so I'll read through this because it's going to save you like 20 pages of chicken scratch. So my summary from the cowboy session was: the target is questioning a historical event. Did it happen like this or not? This event involves a real person and is morally nuanced. It's not a cut and dried get the bad guy thing. There are many documents relating to this. One of these is very significant. It contains a list of names, projects, people, AOL of attendees, and these are all factually correct. At the end of the document, a claim is made about the order in which events took place or the precise people, times, or events. This claim is false, so it seems like a lie buried in truth. I've said there's several key people. These are not necessarily all people. One of them might be a cow. One of them might be an alien. They might all be people. I don't know. I'd kind of just didn't investigate it in the session. I just assumed they were people. So we'll keep an open mind. So we've got a main life form, who I assumed was a person, that was specified in the retasking, because Daz retasked me and said there's a life, which you totally didn't describe. Can you go describe that?
David, just to interrupt you a sec, is this something we're meant to be viewing, because we're not seeing it on the screen?
I didn't want to put it on the screen because
Okay.
it's just text,
Right.
and it's really annoying when people read text and you try and read it at the same time. I can put it on the screen if you want, though.
That's fine. It's all right.
Why don't look at this picture of an alien?
Yeah.
While I read the text.
Okay.
So then we get a person who looks like the classic 1950s private investigator trope, wearing like a suit and a trilby and hiding behind a newspaper like this. I did a timeline on this, which I think is there. So here is our trilby person. This is just like the time window of the tasking, but I think this is expanded to include a whole bunch of conspiratorial stuff. This isn't just the cow butthole event, or not, as the case may be. So this spy-looking fella's involved at the beginning, and then stops being involved, and we get the involvement of somebody who looks military. Let me just find the sketch of... now there's our trilby dude reading his newspaper, and here's our army dude. So possibly army dude. It just kind of looks that way. I thought army or police, or it looks like a uniform or a helmet or a police hat, that kind of some official kind of person. And they're involved and continue to be involved past the end of the event there. So we've got 7A here, this document, which I've described as like a photograph, because I said this was created at the instant the thing which it was recording took place like a photograph would be. It isn't like somebody wrote a description after the fact. This is a record of an instant in time, and a photograph was a good example of that. So it seemed like here we've got a death event, but I thought this was actually the death of a person, and that this is like covering up this photograph thing. I'm not sure I've actually got the death event for the cow, embarrassingly enough. Or possibly I've conflated the two. Death isn't my strong point in remote viewing targets, so I may have been kind of pussyfooting around it. Is there anything else from the summary? Yes, this beginning end thing. We get this person who seems like a real key person, and they are associated with possible death event. And there seems to be a claim about this person that is kind of mislocated in time. You know, some people say they were there at the beginning, perhaps in the role of an instigator, and some people say they were there at the end, which could possibly, but my data doesn't say this, but it could possibly be somebody turning up on the scene and going, holy cow, we've got to cover this up quick, before everyone finds out about the butthole stealing space aliens. For some reason, my cowboy session went into quite some detail in this, and the answer was they turned up after the fact. So I know with this phenomena, there's this theory that, oh, it's just humans doing this for weird government reasons, and my data seems to suggest it's not. There might be aliens and UFOs and weird shit like that, and the humans are kind of covering it up, and they're after the fact rather than before. So that is my data.
Excellent, thanks for that. What we'll do is we'll leave any questions anyone asks or any commentary into after, and we'll just move straight to the next person. Yeah, so thanks for that, David. Let's go to Henny next, and I think she has a presentation for us.
I like to keep myself reminded of time and being efficient, so that was our target and tasking. And as Daz mentioned, we had few questions: the event itself, or what was behind it, and what was the reason or the intent or the purpose of the event. I tried to arrange my a bit scattered 2 sessions into something which might make sense. So I'm gonna go with that. My first and reoccurring visual that I had and that I kept having, and it turned out right in, I think, the second ideogram, was an energy enveloping a biological. So I had this like radiant orange pillar from upwards down coming bright energetic pillar that was enveloping a biological. I did not see the biological at that time, because all I was seeing is this like fuzzy outline of them. After that, I went on the retask. I was asked more about the energy. So I spent a lot of time on the energy and the process and what it is doing. And it seems like this energy is a two-way process that can go down and can go up, and it does different things depending on whether it's a downward or an upward movement. First, I was seeing the process going upward, which was like, again, a pillar of light. It was slowly culminating. It was raising up to a height where it stood at an apex, and then it whooshed out. So that was my first impression. And when I was looking at the process the other way around, then there was like a huge compression and a pressing down kind of feeling, pushing down, compacting. So it was an energy that was like really, if you had like standing out under a waterfall, that's the kind of feeling that I was getting. It was really pressing me down. And in both cases, as you see, I'm showing a biological being pulled up and whooshed out, or being pressed down. I asked for the purpose of this energy process, and I got weird words coming up, like modulating, phasing, shifting, locating, relocating, tagging, and geolocating. Then I had abstract data, which makes me think that this cow mutilation and missing parts of the cow mutilation might have been a glitch in the system or an error and not probably purposeful harm. So my abstract data is showing, look at that, David, like a triangular shape, which was basically an anchor for an information field that when you looked at it, it looked like a disc. So it had these rings and it was energetic, and you could see that there were it was maths and data inside that field. And I was getting that this triangular object is trying to stabilize or pinpoint or anchor like a field of information. And next thing I got was that there was a glitch or an error. There was a mess. Somehow the information got into a chaotic mess and it became non-linear and tangled up. And that's, I think, why poor cow didn't make it down. Like David, I don't like death either. So usually when I do dead people, I always think they are sleeping. Like for me, a mummy is sleeping. And so I was seeing a biological laying on their side in a fetal position, and I said they are asleep, which is my nice way of saying they are probably unconscious or dead. And I am showing them being enveloped again in this pillory, bright, flashy energy, which is coming from above downwards. And I had a lot of data, especially in my first session, and then again in the second session, information about who might be behind it. And I kept having a male-looking humanoid-shaped biological who was observing other biologicals from a distance. This biological felt an outsider, non-belonging, and they were conducting a status check or a control. They were checking on how a process is unfolding or going on. They didn't look like aliens to me, but they looked different. I noted that they are dressed like a cosplayer. They look like someone from Assassin's Creed, so very not contemporary, not normal looking clothing. And he was really interesting because he was doing this surveillance and control and checkup. And he could remain unnoticed mostly. I noted that if he wants to remain unnoticed, then he's remaining unnoticed. And one interesting data that I had that kept coming back is I did not feel he was physical, in the sense that whenever I looked at him, he was like fuzzy, weird, and it looked more like a holographic projection, or what I would imagine an astral projection. It was not a physical embodiment, but still he had some sort of presence. I had a lot of data. I was trying to figure out this guy, and here you see he looks like a mirage, an apparition, a silhouette, and I get data things like he's a wanderer or traveler or hopper, keeper of secrets. He's energetic in nature. From where I see him, he's just a silhouette, an apparition, and also he seemed to have like superhuman capabilities from what I've seen. Like he was able to zoom in, zoom out, and do things that you wouldn't normally be able to do if you were like a 3D human being in this reality. I still kept trying to figure out who this guy is. So I had data like guardian, custodian, protector, keeper of secrets, traveler of time, and outside of time. That was because of his ability to zoom in, out, come, go. It really felt like he was not, and he was like feeling out of here, out of place, not belonging. So I had this really strong idea of him being outside of time. He also seemed to be a member of some kind of order who was outposted here, and he was fulfilling some duty that he had. and he actually, for me, he appeared to be a positive agent. So I did not get any kind of bad intention from that biological. And these two I just put in because I wanted to reflect on David's data. So yeah, I had some kind of weird pyramidal thing as well, which I just left out because I couldn't match it anywhere. And I also had people more biologicals caged in a like tight place, and again having this energetic thing above their head, and they were like trying to escape and making it out alive. So I think that's similar to your prison or imprisoned analogy. That's all I wanted to share.
Excellent, Henny, and thanks for that great presentation and great data again as well. It's great, just seeing the two so far, it's starting to build, for me anyway, a solid picture of what the target is. Yeah, so thanks for that, guys. And next, seeming is Dimmy was in the room next. Would you like to go next, Dimmy?
Yes, of course. Can I share my screen? Yeah, probably yes. Okay. Hmm. Oh, sorry, just a second. Sure.
Yeah, no problem. We can see a blue screen at the moment. We can see your PowerPoint.
Can you see?
Yep, we can see the title screen.
It's very funny because I choose the same picture as Henny in the second one. So I just said about target that you're tasker and that code death, even mutilation from Texas. What was the target? What was the subtasks? Again, I trick the same kind of pictures here. Well, I folded in just a moment because I cannot see because of the features of the Zoom. Just a moment. Yes. So I started with a very few slides. I didn't talk a lot in this presentation because I just picked the highlights. So in my first page of S2 energy, I've got static, fracture, staccato, fuzzy, whitish blue, glowing, discharging, up, above, jagged, continuous, luminous, crackling, snapping noises, darkish, and the now I love lightning. Okay. And the land was desolated, deserted, warm outside as a landscape. And then I've got this. I don't know if you can see it. Can you see it? Because it's for me it's hidden under the features.
Yeah, we see the slides there, like a cloud-like thing, and,
yes,
and then an
for
island
me,
thing.
it was the strange thing of this energy. It was that I sense it was alive, an alive cloud, energetic, with jagged kind of trajectory type of throwing energy or dispersing energy around. It was floating in the air, like, or in the void, because I didn't know exactly where I was at that time. It was a mass of pulsating energy sticking together. These little stars that I put there are like sparkles of energy or condensed energy or something like this, discharging to other realms. And again, when I started to move over to see what's happened next, oh yeah, I have to change the feature again. So I move in front of the target and I saw this kind of black, but I think it was a symbolic kind of black for me energy. It was dark energy, which was pulsating, flashing, increasing, decreasing, because it was like a flash was going dim and then it's increased and so on. Like an eye in the sky, for me it was. Above in the atmosphere, subtle also, nuanced and hidden because it was not seen with the naked eye. I've seen that. I think I've written even in the session, but I didn't put it here. Okay, next one. This energetic was round, spreading, cloudy, fuzzy, pulsating, glowing vapors, also misty and static, like an electrostatic. He was staying there and it was discharging. I felt discharged a lot, periodically in all direction, and it felt alive, as I said before, bluish whitish type of color, hanging somewhere above in the deep space. And there is no confined space for it, but lingers in the same proximity, with jagged discharging gradually energetics and darkish void black in its surroundings. And I had an well as a skinwalker column. Probably if you watched the skinwalker, you know that cloud that they photograph with 3D LiDAR scan, I think it was. Okay, again, I have to move the picture here. When I moved in the middle of the target, I've got the same sense as Henny. It was a very condensed, very concentrated type of energy. It was hard to breathe. Again, it felt black and dark, but I think it was also symbolic for me. I was in the middle and I felt very compressed and concentrated and very strong power of the energy there. It was radiating, bursty, highly concentrated. I have now as a laser with high frequency type of energy, powerful in all directions, dark, hyper dense, no sensation on touch, and just the feeling as if I'm carrying a huge heavy weight of energy point, energy at every point at once. Yeah. And then I've moved to see what's the reason, what's happening there. And I've seen this object, this kind of man-made, was distorting the surrounding area, the space-time of surrounding area. It felt solid, heavy, dense, round, directional, falling, speeding down, distorting area around, cannot be seen with normal vision, but it was rippling, fracturing surroundings and altering continuous space-time. It felt it was gray, matte color, vibrating, solid, but also fuzzy, high dense, prickly on taste, humming, changing quickly its direction. And I felt its purpose was to scouting. And then I felt that it was a life involved here, which was somewhere in something. I don't know what was. For me, it was like a man-made or something. I don't know for sure. Maybe it was a fence or something. I don't know. These were the foliages, the trees around. This was my man-made from previous slides. I have now as a mysterious agenda. Again, my cloud up there. And this thing was like a scout standing down from that kind of mist. Life was here, and the round metallic object was vibrating also. Again, sorry. Again, I have to change the feature here, sorry. My life here engulfed in energy, and the trajectory of that object around it's this life, and it felt it was glowing, it was yellow, orbiting around, and this was like a glade or something. And my life, which again, it was human for me, it felt it was engulfed in energy, but also it felt it would be alive and dead at the same time, with the orb around and the dark cloud above. It was like in a closed in a round space, sparkling geometrical radial convergent space. And I know I have an owl as a hobby wisdom. Don't ask me about it. I should have looked for, but I didn't. Sorry, Daz. Energy and location and life. It seemed that life is attached to the energy, or energy is attached to the life, which was very important. And the idea was that it was in the wrong place at the wrong time, trapped inside. And then I probed my life form, which again, I felt it was human. and I sense it was spiritual and religious. Maybe cows are spiritual and religious in another world, who knows? An explorer and a scientist, but it felt like it was fury, rage against the situation. Sorry, I didn't see it. Desire to be alone, health issue. It was here, it was eating from inside, leg injuries, and I don't know what I wrote here. Sorry. I will move further. And then at the end, this is from retasking, when you are asking about the dead person that I got. And I've got this prehensile type of man-made with like a tulip with claws type of petals, let's say. It was steep, high, vertical, narrow, and it was folding and unfolding, and then it felt like this was grabbing the life, which sense without sense of life, and this man-made was coming from up like like endings and grabbing this life. And they also have interesting many geometrical and calculus type of data, and it looked like anchors on both sides of the interaction for finding common ground, handing over like examples which could be deciphered and then used as a Rosetta Stone for further communication knowledge from the other end of the interface. My interface was the one down to the life and one up to the energetic cloud, which seems to be obsolete by the nature of the first gestalt, which for me was the upper type of life there. I didn't want to probably there. Opening to new understanding, establishing new perspective over the usual hidden meaning of the upper gestalt and reality. And that's it. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks, Nimi. That was a very interesting data and a nice presentation again.
Thank
You guys have been doing lots of work on your presentations. Well done. Again,
Carl, please tell me you don't have a PowerPoint too. I'm feeling
Absolutely not. I'm sorry.
That's okay, guys. Honestly, but yeah, I like the fact that you're all telling a very similar story. With the date, with the object above, the energies. You're all getting the life form, having a problem, having issues, even going through death stuff and that. So well done so far. Yeah, it builds a really, really interesting picture. So yes, with that, let's go to Carl's data. Thanks for that, Dimi.
So no presentation from me. I'm going to go through 2 really short sessions. When I started the first session, I was also getting energy around some kind of life form, and it wasn't human. So I aborted the session. I said, okay, I've gone way off. So, and they're very short. Let's see if I can get the right one. Yeah, that's it. There's 2, so I'll have to go in and out. So I stopped the session, but I did an interim summary, and I got the energetic. But I had a very strong feeling of it being in a different dimension. There was transport through the dimensions, which was something that you guys have been saying in a certain way, energy up and down and different places. And I get, you see this, a green density and a DMT-like pattern of energy. It's different. It's like a waveform. And then I get very much like David, who has a circular object. It's a structure, like a base. It feels crystalline, octagonal with points and branches. So I'll show you the pictures for that. You see the first gestalt? I have no idea what it is. Emanating electrical, no idea. So there I start trying to draw it. Look, David, there's your drawing, right? Can you see at the bottom there? There's your dude. And that's the first one with it, but it's like it's a parallel universe, and it's electrical, energetic. And I said ectoplasm, and you've both said, you've all said things like that. And I have the dude but it's as though I'm seeing a hologram this like projection with the energy. But who knows why I'm finding it beautiful, astonishing, and also beautiful. And that's where I get the DMT consciousness from, because it's as though I've burst through a level. Yeah, like, DMT pushes you through. And I burst through and I found the entity. And I have it, who had, Demi, was it you? The sparkles, there are your sparkles, yeah? There's the entity, and it's in cosmic soup. There's the circular object with the crystalline structure. And to me, that was what was forming the portal to get through the dimensions. And something came through that. So I thought, no, it's too much. This is where I aborted the session. So I'm going to stop sharing and go on to the next one. Daz very kindly retasked me and asked me about what the energy was. So I felt a bit more reassured about what I was doing, and I went to look at the energy, and here it feels as though it incorporates a sentient being. Henny said energy enveloping a biological. So it's like the creature's in there. But at one stage, I tried to reach out and communicate, and it was like being slammed against a cement wall, and there was no possibility of being able to communicate. But I did feel that this thing was using its energy system to communicate. I don't know if anybody's seen those videos of Sekhmet where they go into the room where the statue is and it's all black and it like burns film. I'm getting that kind of black energy off it. And then I also feel that somehow it's using that energy actually to form like a mycelium network to communicate with. So bits of it, there were bits of it all around it, but they kind of like drift off like ectoplasm, and those form like neural networks that it can use to communicate. But it's just not on our dimension of communication. It's like radionic, and it's something different. There's something crystalline. And then when I probed it a little bit more, I'm getting it's a wave energy, but the wave's got a chip out of it. So there's something wrong. So some people are saying that there's a glitch. It's you, Henny. There's a glitch. That was my glitch. The wave energy with a jag in it somehow. And it feels entrained and coherent. And it's been husbanded. So it's like it's there to take energy. It's taking the energy from that. And then once it's got the energy, it's putting it into something and it's circulating. And this sexual energy, it's birth and regeneration. So the actual death thing, that death was like a birth and like sex. It's like that tantric thing. So it felt very weird. I did say at some stage death or birth. So the energy's anomalous. It's got a chip out of it. This is another, I had to summarize. I keep sort of saying, this just feels too weird. Stop, summarize, stop, move on. But that's like the portal. And look, straight away, you see sexual energy or death. That's how we can understand what was created by the energy. And I have a reference to the Kabbalah to Binah in there, which is actually a healing sepiroth. It's a change of dimension. So I have the feeling of the energy moving over. And Tartaria, which is where they were using, I've been watching these films where they use a different kind of energy. So it's a crystalline, it's a wave pattern. There's the wave with the glitch in it. It's not earthly. Here is a sketch of how the energy is farming, how it's pulling it up. See, it's a nick taken out of the wave. Its husband and its guide. Spiders on Mars was my AOL, and it's been harvested. So something's been harvested. Now, they're the energy trails, and that's the portal that's created to pull the energy up. And look at this. She's not coming out for the energy anymore. The structures are operating in a time loop. I have no idea. But here I'm back to the circular object, and I say it's creating a life bath. And the project is to create life. I'm going to, I stopped to think, no, it's gone up too much. I carry on. And it's a biosphere. It's above me, in front of me, and to the right. It's suspended. So it's there, but it's in a different time dimension. So I'm trying to describe the energy. Every trail is like a hologram of the whole, and this is how it's moving up and down. And this is some kind of instrument. I have no idea. Interstellar communication. It's a mycelium. And then that's the tunnel that whatever it is comes down through, and it's coming down for regeneration. So it's regenerating something. Yeah. Okay. I'll stop here, really. When I got the feedback, I said, oh, I didn't go and look at what was going on. I said, those damn vampires again. That is my first thought.
Thanks for that, Carl. That was a great session again, and it just meshes with everyone else's data on this one. Really, it does build a coherent picture between all the sessions of, a very exotic, weird type of energy event with a life form going through a death process, and you're all talking about death, it being imprisoned, harvested, all kinds of stuff there. Let's see if we got Josh. Josh, are you able to chat right now and do yours?
I am going to attempt to fly through a summary before my wife gets back from shopping. But if I suddenly cut off, that's what happened. All right, let me see if I can share.
Okay, go for it, dude.
I'll do. Is there anything coming across on your screen at the moment? Oh, maybe this is going to be easier if you go into that Google Drive that I sent you, Daz.
Sorry, is it a recent sent me or
It's fairly recent, yes.
Or is it the actual session itself? Hello?
I have everything in there.
Okay, bear with me. When do you send it through email?
I sent it through Discord.
Oh, okay. Let me open up Discord. Today or
It'll be a little further up than today. I'm going through our messages right now.
oh yeah, I got the Google Drive folder. Yeah.
All right, everything's in there.
You want me to display it? Bear with me a sec. Download. Download.
And then if I need to sit down with you and re-record anything again, I can find a time for that.
So one is one's an MP3.
The PDF will be the first one.
Yeah, just the PDF then.
Yeah, the PDF, and then we'll briefly jump over to the doc for the sketches in there.
Okay. Let me get rid of this. Close Discord. Bear with me a second. Just moving windows around on my workspace here. So I'll share screen then.
All right.
Bear with me a sec while I make it bigger.
All right. So first, I came up with two ideograms where both of them had life, and then one in particular was both motion and life. And I don't really have much going on in my stage 2 down in the next page. I kind of just, I'll admit I kind of phoned it in there. The data starts getting interesting to me at about the stage 3 of sight. I had described a sort of pyramidal shape with rounded off corners and these weird shapes up at the top and the bottom. Over here in the center of it, I have labeled element X in the center. And so from there, I broke down into the stage 1 and 2 and 3 of X. So starting with stage 1 of X, I decided to get specific ideogram probes where I went with what's the most recognizable aspect, got conceptual in my ideogram. The most realistic aspect was a man-made energetic, and the most helpful for the tasker was an element of life. My S2 on this one is also similarly brief. I had trouble scanning it in, I apologize, but I'd like to point you to specifically the fact that it feels void and empty, cold center, and non-corporeal. There's also a sort of sucking vacuum feel. When we move to the S3 of X, I believe Dimmy will find this familiar. I drew this same sketch when working a target for her where I was asked to investigate a void in the pyramid, and I noted that as an AOL. I also had an AOL of Tom DeLonge's UFO experience, which I first discarded, but in hindsight, it feels a bit more relevant. So in the S4 of X, I noted that a lot of these things feel conceptual, very subjective. The most important element of this is that I feel I noted was currently incomplete, and I had an AOLS of a work in progress. So I tied this information together down in the site template, where I redrew the initial sketch and overlaid the fact that had that void cube in there. I noted fill in the blanks, currently incomplete. And what I have reason to believe post feedback, I believe that I've drawn the inside of a cow's mouth, specifically noting the tongue and that the tongue was missing. My reasoning for that is when you look at a cow's mouth, it has those sort of squared teeth only on the lower jaw, those 4 squares you see at the bottom. And up top, they don't have teeth. They have what's called a dental pad. And when you look at those, it has that same sort of very smooth texture with the sort of horizontal or vertical lines and wrinkles at the top. So I essentially concluded my TRV session there just due to time constraints, and I sent it into Daz. And the retasking I received, which is covered in that doc, the Google Doc, is he said that it's like David's session. You have another element of life there that I would like you to describe more of. And I'll really just breeze over the data there, and the only things of note in that retasking doc, Daz, are the sketches I did. So I had in this cowboy session a sort of gray stick figure that I started talking to, and I hadn't really decided whether it didn't feel human, but I hadn't really concluded whether that was because it just felt like a generalization of a group of people or that it was some sort of non-human intelligence. And so I struck up a conversation with it, trying to figure out what it was doing in relation to this. At the time, all I had was a work in progress that wasn't completed. I was going off of that line of data in the previous session. And so by that line of questioning, I was told a narrative involving this individual being almost like a farmer, where he had all of these crops lined up in a row, and what he was working on was some sort of strange, it was almost like I think I called it like a cyber plant, where it was like green plant leaves, only when you looked closer, it was the sort of, if you were to look at like a computer chip board, those little wirings and things of that nature. And so I drew that there in a brief sketch. And I also made an attempt to sketch Mr. Gray as he exists in reality. And I ended up drawing a stereotypical gray alien, which normally when I come up with aliens in a session, I generally get a sense that, oh, well, this is all some sort of narrative, or like that's usually a symbolic cue to me that something about this session was fake. So what really confused me was, compared to other fictitious characters I've cowboyed, this one felt real. I also had a brief discussion where I went up above him and I was like, okay, who's in charge of you? And I came up with a figure I named Mr. Red. I did not attempt to sketch Mr. Red, but I inquired about the purpose of this whole operation. And it was essentially, they were sourcing parts for some sort of research and development of a communications device. And that was the way it was described to me. But I did not inquire further. I just jotted it down and moved along. That's, as far as I can recall, that's all I have. This sketch here was, I tried to move further ahead to, okay, what does this part, how does this part interact with the rest of what it is? And I drew almost a sort of odd plant satellite. And that I noted that it was emanating sort of a status update rather than radiating. I don't really know how to make a distinction there. It just felt important to note. But that whole process, as it was communicating back and forth, just like a little acknowledgement request, like, I'm still here, connected to the network. And I believe that's all I have. That's all I recall.
Excellent, Josh. Thanks for sharing that, and thanks for the data there. So, with all this data, then, guys, just have a quick discussion. What do you think now that you've seen? You've obviously only seen summary of the data, but what do you think now you've seen each other's data for the first time?
It's amazing how they are fitting together, and some have lacks of data, and the other one comes and fill in the void of the data on the first viewer, and so on and so on. But like, we were like 6, and 3 of us saw the figure of the great dude. This is awesome, and I can tell. My sense was it was something bad. The overall sense of the target. It was not something good, and you cannot control that. The other thing control what's down there, and I felt it was from another time and space, and I didn't put it into this presentation, but it was also like corals, and also like Henny's, like a portal of communicating between words, 2 different words. I call them gestalts, not words, so, because I didn't know exactly what were them. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. For me, seeing it is the the correlation of, although there were some reports obviously in the data of life forms that were human, and David had some life form kind of military type things in there as well. I do think that might be part of the this whole mythology, because half the people out there believe that cat mutilations are military experiments and stuff as well, and they may just be watching or be involved in every experiment. If they have the radar.
I think that's what my data said.
Yeah,
it said specifically, like, no, they came after. They didn't do it. They responded to it.
Absolutely, and it's this whole event as well. We're only looking at one cow event, but it is a series of. It ended up being, I think, 6 cow events in total that happened over a period of a couple of days there. So it's really interesting, and interesting for me because the data all seems to indicate a very high energy, exotic energy that involve dimensions and time and dark matter kind of portals. But a lot of you also got the death event and the corralling of something as well, and the imprisonment and all that kind of stuff. Lots of data, from several of you of up and down energies as well, and life forms being involved in energies going up and down, and all kinds of stuff like that. So I think you guys did a fantastic job on this. So a big, hands up to all of you. That's Mike. Yeah.
High five.
Yeah, high five to everyone. Yeah, because you will say this in the video. You guys did this all blind. You had no idea that you'd be doing a target like this, and I haven't given you a target like this, and it literally only happened a couple of days before I saw it. In the news, and I thought, whoa, that'd be an amazing target. So I was hoping that it wouldn't make the high news and that everyone else would see it and had that in the forefront of their mind. And none of you mentioned it to me in any way. So I don't think you did see it anywhere. So I think the results are amazing, and I'm looking forward to sharing them with everyone because it seems consistent with, I have to be honest, the most popular theory out there that the mutilations are some kind of experiment by non-human life forms.
This is definitely the first target I've done where the aliens ended up feeling real. So
yeah, excellent results, guys. So I want to thank you all for this, and thank you for your time tonight as well. Yeah, it's great.
Thank you, Daz, and nice presentation.
I have a question.
Yep.
So in all of those press articles, I've just looked at them, those articles you sent, the dead animals lay there and none of their bodies were touched.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with, historically as well. Usually no animals will feed off of it, the dead carcass at all either.
Or insects.
Yeah.
And none of the articles mentioned blood being taken. It was just.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have all the history on this one yet because it's so new and we don't have all the data. But again, I've read quite a lot about cat mutilations, going back 20 years now. I've collected all the books and stuff. Traditionally as well, all the blood is drained from the animals, but there is no blood actually in the vicinity of where they find the animals.
Yeah, I read that, but the articles didn't mention them being, drained.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I've tried to find extra information, but I can't find. Yeah, there's none forthcoming yet. Hopefully, that's why I'd love to show this to Linda Moulton Howe, because if anyone has an inside track to have more information to corroborate, it would be her.
Yeah. I wanted to make a quick point about your session, Henny. The weird guy you had who was like astral projecting and wearing the strange clothes and stuff. That reminded me of. I hope not. I don't dress like that. Maybe it was my 1950s private investigator thing.
It was your avatar. It was your avatar kind of like presentation of your real self.
I think my subconscious is not handling bad things I don't like. Gray aliens are for example, something I don't like. So I probably just made it something else.
It made me think. Well, I mean, I got that guy and the gray aliens very distinct. So I think somebody who looks like that might be there. Are any of you guys familiar with the Men in Black mythos of people who have the Men in Black turn up and they appear in like a car from the 1950s and they're wearing slightly weird clothes and they look slightly weird and they just appear out of nowhere and come and threaten witnesses to high strangeness, and then they walk out the door and then they look and like the car's just gone and they didn't drive away, and that could be what we're looking at there. It just struck me when you were describing your data.
Can I quick sharing the screen just with an image?
Yeah, go for it.
Also, it was in a different dimension. I mean, she said quite clearly.
Just look at this guy. here.
Oh, no way. Where did he come from? You missed him out your PowerPoint.
No,
Yes, I
Dude.
magician.
I'm
Oh,
a
look, puff, he appears.
genius.
It cannot be touched. Only see.
Nah.
This is
Yeah.
the Men in Black. This is
Yes,
definitely the Men in Black.
because you are talking about, that's why. Yes,
Watch out, they're going to pay you a visit
Of
now.
a hologram, like Henny
They're going
said.
to turn up.
Yeah, that's I'm gonna stop sharing. Sorry. Thank you. Just
Brilliant.
and in a different kind of nuance, let's say.
Incredible.
Again, amazing data, and we can't expect remote viewing to obviously come up with all the answers as well. It just gives more information for us to look at, and for people out there that hopefully will watch the video that we create with this to add to their investigations on this as well. But well done, guys. Fascinating information, and I liked it because it kind of adds a little bit of confirmation for me. We can't obviously totally believe remote viewing on its own without further information, but as a person that's really looked into these mutilations, and including ones here in the UK for 2 decades or more now, and I've never tasked anyone with a proper mutilation case in all these 26 years of remote viewing. So it was nice. This one fed in my lap, and I had a team like you guys that I could trust to look at this. So I just want to say thank you for doing that for me.
Well, wasn't that amazing? As an tasker on this project, I believe the remote viewers went out and brought back information I requested, and they did this blindly. This was data which, in my opinion, seems to support the popular theory that these mutilations are being done by an advanced form of life with advanced tools and knowledge. They do not support a human military or even a cult/ritual component, or even the natural predator theory. Some of the data did seem to indicate a human intel or military observance from afar, but what this means at this point, we just do not know. I want to give a big shout out to the remote viewers who participated blindly in this project, and they did this for no payment, and they gave their time and effort and also their bravery. Their contacts are down below if you want to contact these remote viewers separately. We hope that you enjoyed this presentation, and please hit that like button and share, and let us know your thoughts and comments on this in the messages below. What do you think the remote viewing data describes, and who do you think is mutilating these cows? Namaste, until next time in the next project, goodbye.